Good morning, everyone. It's wonderful that you are still here. It's very important to learn the Buddha Dharma from beginning to end during this retreat, but it depends whether we have some commitment to fulfill. Okay, you are so lucky. Okay, so again, before we begin today's class, I would like to point out some key points from day two's lessons. We begin yesterday morning's class looking at the third level of causes and conditions, which is existence is grounded in emptiness. This is more profound level of the meaning behind the law of causes and conditions. Although the law of causes and conditions has three levels, its main point is the second one. Phenomena are established in accordance with principle. Under the law of causes and conditions, there are two great principles, right? The first is the natural nature of the factors of dependent co-arising. This term is used when speaking of the defiled causes and conditions relating to worldly existence, that is, samsara. The second is the nature of the factors of the noble paths. This term is used when speaking of the pure causes and conditions relating to the transcendence of samsara. These two great principles are definite principles relating to life in this human world and the path to liberation. In terms of the definition or content of dependent co-arising, the short and simple meaning is conditioned by this, that arises. The more detailed content of the law of dependent co-arising is captured in the 12 links, which can be split into three phases of 5, 10, and 12 links. The teachings on the 12 links capture the continuous flow of delusion, karma, and suffering, which keeps beings bound to samsara. This is where we left off yesterday. So what we have covered is the main content, defining what the law of dependent co-arising embodies. So when someone asks you what the law of dependent co-arising is, hopefully the 12 links will immediately come to mind. Next, we move to section 4, which examines the cyclical process of existence and its cessation as found within the law of dependent co-arising. The cyclical process within the law of dependent co-arising refers to the continuous cycle of birth and death that occurs based on causes and conditions. The Buddha spoke about this using the terms dependent co-arising and dependently co-arisen phenomena. Okay. When the Buddha explained these two terms, he used the same formula. Because this exists, that exists. Because this arises, that arises. For example, with ignorance as a condition, volitional formations arise. However, the difference between these two terms has long been considered difficult to understand. Although dependent co-arising and dependently co-reason phenomena refer to the same content, you may wonder why are two different terms used. The answer is because their meanings are somewhat different. Okay? Dependent co-arising is a verbal noun, while dependently co-reason phenomena is the past passive participle. Okay, it's a grammatical issue, but has different meaning. So the dependently co-reason phenomena refers to things that have been produced by causes and conditions. Therefore, dependent co-arising can be explained as arising through conditions, and dependently co-reason phenomena can be explained as that which has already arisen from conditions. So these two, yes.
Please say that again.
So dependent co-arising can be explained as arising through conditions. Okay. So it's the process of the, how can I say, the law, the process, and dependently co-reason phenomena can be explained as that which has already arisen from conditions. It's the concrete phenomena arisen. So has different, slightly different meaning. Okay, I will explain more later. Okay, so these two clearly indicate a relationship of cause and effect. But this is not merely the cause and effect of observable events. When the Buddha taught dependent co-arising, he added the description. This is the nature of dharmas, the stability of dharmas, the conditionality of dharmas. Okay. Therefore, dependent co-arising refers to definite principle or law of cause and effect, whereas the dependently co-reason refers to the concrete events or phenomena within the process of cause and effect. In other words, everything we know in our reality consists of conditioned phenomena. The definite laws of cause and effect underlying these conditioned phenomena are what is called the law of dependent co-arising. Okay. In short, dependent co-arising is the principle, and dependently co-reason is the phenomena. Okay. The term dependently co-reason phenomena explains that effects or results arise from causes and conditions. When dependent co-arising is spoken of in relation to dependently co-reason phenomena, dependent co-arising refers to the definite law of causation in accordance with which phenomena arise from causes in an orderly and consistent manner. What does this mean? Orderly and consistent manner means certain causes and conditions will definitely give rise to certain outcomes. Like a melon seed will always and only result in melons. These definite laws of causation are precisely what dependent co-arising. Thus, dependently co-reason phenomena occur in accordance with the law of dependent co-arising. With regard to the cycle of birth and death, there are two important points that should be understood. The first is that the sequence from ignorance, conditioning, volitional formations up to birth, conditioning, aging, and death may appear to be a temporal one. However, this sequence is not linear. It is more like a circle or a spiral, just as a circle has no beginning that comes earlier and no end that comes later. In the scriptures, the 12 links mainly explain these things, three things: ignorance, karmic action, and suffering. Ignorance refers to mental afflictions or defilements. Karmic action refers to actions of body, speech, and mind. Suffering arises as the result of ignorance and karmic actions. Due to suffering, new afflictions arise which lead to more karmic actions and in turn bring about further suffering. So we are in the cycle, right? In this way, ignorance, karmic action, and suffering continually revolve in an endless cycle. Therefore, birth and death are said to be without a beginning, and sentient beings continuously follow this cyclical pattern of ignorance, action, and suffering, as shown on the screen, okay? The continuing cycle of existence in the human world shows causes and effects arising one after another. Yet we should know that there is no first beginning or a final end. It is like a clock. 1 o'clock comes before 2 o'clock. So there is clearly a sequence, but numbers go from 1 to 12 and then from 12 back to 1 again. We cannot say where the cycle truly begins. Within this circular continuity of cause and effect, the Buddha realized its cyclical pattern and therefore taught that birth and death have no beginning. Thus, causes and effects necessarily follow one another, yet they have no ultimate point of beginning or end. If the 12 links are understood as the linear sequence, then each cause must have a still earlier cause, right? And each result must lead to a yet later result. And one would be forced to search for a definite beginning and end. That's what the science doing, right? Okay. But when the Buddha taught that birth and death are without beginning, he was rejecting erroneous theories such as Creator, God, or a universal starting point of evolution. The second point relates to dependently co-reason phenomena, which arise in accordance with the law of dependent co-arising. The continuity of cause and effect should not be understood as the single fixed entity passing through time, but rather as the process in which mutually related combinations of causes and conditions continuously develop and change. This means that the Buddhist view of cause and effect is organizational and dynamic. The definite process of cause and effect within this combined and continuous flow is different from the common type of cause and effect, such as beings produce beings or melons producing melon, where the same type of cause produces the same kind of result. The Buddha did not say ignorance gives rise to ignorance, right? Instead, he taught that ignorance conditions volitional formations. Okay? Take the structure of human being as an example. It is very complex. Physically, there are different organs such as eyes and ears. Psychologically, there are states such as greed, anger, and ignorance. A human being is formed through the coming together of many conditions. Within this combined and continuing process, we observe the definite relationships of cause and effect between earlier and later stages. This is why the Buddha's teachings explain the 12 links. For example, when the father's sperm and the mother's egg unite, the activity of consciousness arises in dependence on them. This consciousness, that is, the sustaining consciousness, in turn sustains name and form. The Pali term nama rupa, right? Which is 5 aggregates, okay? Name and form gradually grows and develops until the 6 sense faculties are complete. Once the 6 sense faculties are present, contact becomes possible. In the womb, however, contact is not yet fully evident. It is only after birth, when the sense faculties encounter the external objects of the world, that contact manifests distinctly. For this reason, the ancient masters explain the causal process of 12 links in terms of stages. That is, they distinguished different phases within what is in fact a single continuous process of conjoined conditions. This is similar to the way modern sociologists divide thousands of years of human history into distinct periods. Yet, such divisions are only broad demarcations. Even in the industrial age, people still farm the land, and in an agricultural society, one cannot say that hunting and fishing are entirely absent, right? So the 12 links of dependent co-arising work in the same way. In the stage of name and form, consciousness is also present. In the stage of six sense faculties, name and form still persists. Each stage may thus contain elements of the others, but because each has its own dominant characteristic, they are described as distinct phases. In reality, this explanation simply describes the successive stages in the development of human life, a process that unfolds through the continuous coming together of many conditions. The Buddha is essentially centered on human beings, and it is on this basis that it explains the different stages of human life. Once this is understood, one will know that the Buddhist view of cause and effect is characterized by being interconnected, dynamic, impermanent, and non-self. Otherwise, one's understanding easily falls into the ordinary notion of causation involving intrinsic entities. Okay? When we investigate the cause and the causes of phenomena, we discover through the law of dependent co-arising that things depend on one another and arise in a definite sequence. By examining causes, we come to understand their results, and we realize the definite relationship expressed as when a cause exists, the result exists. When a cause arises, the result arises. Buddhism, however, investigates the causes of human suffering in order to find a way to remove it. Thus, from the perspective of continual existence in the cyclical existence, we say that the existence of B depends on the existence of A. From the perspective of causation, we reverse this. If A does not exist, B does not come to exist. As the scriptures say, when this does not exist, that does not exist. When this ceases, that ceases. That is to say, when ignorance ceases, volitional formation ceases. And so this entire mass of suffering comes to an end. The principle of cessation is thus still grounded in law of dependent co-arising. Namely, without this, that cannot arise. Okay. Thus, the arising aspect in the law of dependent co-arising explains the cyclical process of birth and death, while the cessation aspect reveals the truth of nirvana. Nirvana is established through the ending of the suffering of birth and death, and it is explained through the observable relationships of cause and effect. This is very different from the ideal worlds described in other religions, which rest solely on faith or imagination and cannot be accounted for by way of principle or actual phenomena. Clearly, the nirvana of Buddhism and the ideals of non-Buddhist religions are worlds apart. The law of dependent co-arising explains phenomena as conditionally arisen, and at the same time it reveals nirvana. This bit is a bit profound, okay? Nirvana may be described as the true nature of all phenomena, which is also called Dharma nature. In the scriptures, these two aspects are summarized as the conditioned and the unconditioned. Okay, so one is the conditioned, the other is the unconditioned. According to the definition given in the Agama texts, the conditioned refers to cyclical process or arising and ceasing. When this cyclical process is stilled and brought to extinction with no arising, no duration, and no ceasing, it is called the unconditioned. Being free from craving and defilement, this unconditioned state is one of profound stillness. It is the nirvana toward which Buddhist practitioners strive. This nirvana, which neither arises nor ceases, and is beyond birth and death, is established based on the law of dependent co-arising. So here is the simile for you. Hopefully you can understand. It is like waves. arising on the surface of the ocean. Though wave after wave forms, the nature of water itself is calm, right? Waves keeps forming one after another because the wind stirs the water. When the wind stops, the ocean returns to stillness. The continuous formation of waves is like the cyclical process of birth and death, and the wind is like ignorance and craving. When the wind ceases and the waves subside, this parallels nirvana, in which the still nature of phenomena is fully revealed. According to law of cause and effect, conditioned phenomena which arise and cease occur through the presence of many interconnected causes and conditions. And precisely because they arise through the coming together of such conditions, they cannot remain forever as they are. When the relevant conditions such as ignorance and craving are removed, the ever-present nature of stillness becomes evident. Therefore, the establishment of nirvana is likewise based on the law of dependent co-arising. In the Mahayana scriptures, this is expressed as all phenomena are ultimately empty. In the Agama teachings, the same idea that all phenomena ultimately return to emptiness is described as ultimately returning to cessation. Returning to emptiness and returning to cessation are essentially the same in meaning. The continuous formation of waves does not mean that the waves themselves never cease. Each wave naturally passes away, and when the conditions that stir the water disappear, the waves subside, and the water returns to its natural stillness. Once the wind has ceased, the coming of the waves is thus both possible and inevitable. It is therefore entirely reasonable that the Buddha explained nirvana on the basis of the law of dependent co-arising. Nirvana is the goal of Buddhist practice. It is the stage of complete liberation from defiled existence. For many people, however, nirvana is not easy to comprehend, right? In Buddhism, nirvana is neither metaphysical nor mysterious, but is grounded in experience. Okay? It is approached by starting from experience, examining that experience through rational reflection, and finally realizing it directly through insight. This understanding of nirvana, based on the law of dependent co-arising, must be realized deeply and thoroughly. One must not depart from the reality of experience and attempt to conceive of nirvana through mere speculation. I think this is a good place to stop and leave some time for questions. So any question a bit profound, a bit deep? Yes, please, Henry.
I like the comparison about this waves, us going through the waves and try to calm down the wave to reach the ultimate goal of nirvana.
I
mean, that is very illustrative. And trying to explain the calmness of the waves. That's a very good example.
Thank you so much for your feedback. So nirvana is something apart from our real world, right? So when we realize the truth, all the defilement or vexation or affliction subside, and we experience the nirvana, which sometimes in Buddhism we call it the nature of the Dharma. Okay, so nirvana is from the perspective of practitioner's experience, but it actually always there. We just experience and realize this the truth. Okay, yeah. So remember, when we see something arise and cease, we should immediately realize it's not the permanent situation. Okay, so it means cause and conditions lead to the phenomena arising and ceasing. Once these defiled causes and conditions disappear, we can see or experience the true nature of phenomena. Yeah, that's how we achieve the goal of nirvana. Okay, yeah. Any other question? Joanne, clear? Okay, all clear. Yeah, but we need to practice the noble path, don't we?
The Mahayana, the scripture say that all phenomena are ultimately
empty. Yes. So you like the term emptiness?
The emptiness is always that the show in the Mahayana, and for the return to the subsection should be the. I think maybe I need to go back to digest. I come back for the next time.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, please.
We go back to the previous slide where you have the cyclical process of dependent arising. We go back to the going by some more. Yeah, this one.
Yes, this one.
This one.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, this one I see that the arrows are pointing clockwise.
Yeah.
Is it not possible that it go other way also too?
That's a good question.
Yes. Yeah. It's our, how can I say, our habitual direction. You know.
The clockwise direction going ignorance to karmic action, then the suffering.
Yeah, because I use the simile of clock, so I use this direction. Yeah.
Point is that is it possible to go also the other way?
Yeah, I think so. It depends.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, misunderstood. Okay, so it's a normal process. Ignorance gives rise to karmic action. For example, if we have anger, we may scold someone else, right? And wrong speech occur. So if we don't have a defilement or anger, we don't have such karma, right? So, once the karmic action occur, it will leave the karmic force, and in the future, it will lead to suffering. Yeah, when we suffer, defilement become active, right? And then we have a karmic action again, and then bring about suffering. So yeah, ignorance also can also bring about suffering, but this is another interpretation or another method to explain something else. Okay, yeah, when we have anger, we we feel frustrated or something like this, but frustrated is sometimes regarded as defilement. Yeah, you know what I mean. Yeah.
So perhaps maybe we can make the arrow pointing the other direction also too, both ways, you know.
Yeah, I need to think about this and to find the examples. Yeah, I need to be careful because this is Dharma teaching. I need the basis. Okay. All the evidence. Okay. Yep. So no other question? All right. Yeah, thank you so much for your patience. Thank you.